Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, looking at a short induction written by Thomas Randolph for a revival of a play called The Hungry Courtier, which may or may not be another title for a play known as The Woman Hater. It has been brought back after a plague has closed some theatres, and was written somewhere around November 1630. And the question we're going to be asking now is very much, is this little induction useful as just a little short playlet in its own right? And will it be useful potentially to go before the play The Woman Hater when we get round to reading that, which we haven't yet, if indeed it is for that play, of which there is reasonable evidence to suggest that it is. So is it useful as a play in its own right? Is it just historically interesting, which it probably is. So reading today, we have Alan, we have Lynn, we have Eric, and we have Kyle reading various parts in this text, and we're going to have a little dive in. I'm your host, Robert. I will be reading one of the parts as well, because we're a little shorter than planned. Yes, it's got six roles. And various people are going to be doubling as we go along. We have a gentleman, we have Histrio, we have Captain Lover, first and second roarers. And to start this little induction, this preludium, we have the entrance of a gentleman and Histrio.
Oh, Histrio, I thought the press had swallowed you all. 'Tis so long since I saw a comedy. Have you not, for want of exercise, forgot your quality? Can you straddle as wide and talk as loud as you were wont to do?
We will, sir, stretch our legs and mouth to do you service. Though in this dead vacation the one hath been only employed in the other's errands. The feet had little else to do but walk away the stomach.
Well, I'm glad the gag is out of your mouth. I've had a great dearth of wit all over the taverns and ordinaries, for want of new words. And had you been longer suppressed, we must either anew studied Euphues, or return to Green's Arcadia, or call in fiddlers and said nothing. Drinking in silence would have come up again.
It has been a wretched time with us, I'm sure, all over the town. Such an alteration clean through 'em. A fellow that had been big enough to play Hercules is fallen so many cubits, all the clothes in our wardrobe will not stuff him up to the stature. A pair of silk stockings served 6 of 'em from June to October. Another had nothing to eat for a fortnight together, but a property buckler.
Hard of digestion. What play have you today?
One newly revived, The Hungry Courtier.
The Hungry Courtier? No, let it be The Hungry Player. I would not sit on any stage of the town this 12-month. As they gape as wide as they used to, I should suspect further danger. There is nigh occasion to fear the actors will devour the audience. What do you think of a play nothing but ghosts? Would it not be excellently fitted for the persons? Ever a comedy where a pudding is eaten, or bowling with penny loaves? Oh, for a yeoman of the guards part at the China Beef, I would hardly trust thee at one of the old wooden pies. Faith, have you lived? Does the lady at 50 hold out? Really show me how, and by what miracle you have been preserved.
Faith, sir, I'll tell you. Some of us have begged in blank verse, others have acted Tamburlaine to a butcher, and spoke themselves of the score for a sheep's head. Many have peeped into rooms like fiddlers. Gentlemen, will you have any speeches?
Oh, prithee now, let me see that.
If you will give a supper, I do think I shall persuade them into it.
With all my heart. In troth, I pity their miseries. We feed and clothe them with moneys, and they line us with wit. What? Easily persuaded?
Aye, sir, look you, this is a great captain.
But before we have someone coming on stage to demonstrate being a captain, I think we should just take stock of what we've got here. So, so the theatres have been closed. This feels actually oddly topical. Less so with every passing year. But, the actors have all lost, dropped in costume size quite extravagantly because they haven't been able to get any food.
Yeah.
We've got a gentleman, the kind of person who probably sits on the stage on a stool and is probably a complete pain in the arse. Is sort of going, oh yeah, I haven't been to a play for ages. How are you actors doing? And going, we've done really badly, and some of us have. I did like the Tamburlaine, little gag with it. The way the gag is structured is quite nicely worked. Because Tamburlaine's, in theory, a shepherd, so he's asking for a sheep's head. It's, that's a nice little bit of logic. And also the thing, we've had this in plays where fiddlers have turned up. The fiddlers basically turn up and say, anyone for some for some music. And it's the idea that an actor will come through the door and say, would anyone like me to do a speech? I've never tried that.
Worth a try, right?
Yeah. So even though it's sort of very specific to a very specific, because there's obviously been a very bad plague year, and everything's been closed, but also it sort of works. I'm quite liking it. Thoughts in the room?
Yeah, this you don't have to do this as a prologue to the Hungry Gentleman. I mean, this could be, you could switch a few words around and it's applicable to like anything you want to do. Like we have to go back to studying euphuism. I mean, it's like that's like 50 years prior to when this was written in Green's Arcadia. And Green's been dead for 50 years, or well, no, not 50, but 30. So yeah, it's like I'll have to go back to that really old stuff.
Yeah.
I was amused.
Yeah, and there's a thing. There is that possibility you could sort of modernize it, and I think what you could put it in front of any play you like, and you just you use the Hungry Courtier as just a bit of a and you just change it says, shall we do that one? No, we're not going to do it. We're going to do a different play now, and just do a different play or whatever. But I think it's quite instructive as sort of the the difficulty in.
Name dropping Tamburlaine. Tamburlaine and the Spanish tragedy. I'm waiting for the Spanish tragedy reference. And they were just the gifts that kept on giving. They're both like Tamburlaine. Yeah, it's like 50 years old at this point, and they're still name dropping it. Yeah, sort of interesting.
Okay. Let us. So we're going to have some demonstrations of some actors, I think, or some parts. Like we can still do it. So let's see who we get. We have the entrance of a captain.
Frost seethes my blood if I can bear the dove, where I a pygmy could exalt my wrath to giant bigness. Resolution, awake and rise, put on thy clothes of fury, and draw thy sword, and march along with me.
For the trained band, sure he'll take the town.
Fixed is my will, and danger do thy worst. Were bones of matrons and the skulls of virgins vanished and slaughtered, built into a bulwark, I would go on in spite of the musket's teeth, the cannon's mouth, the jaw of culverin. Death meet me in the horrid space thou hast. Jove, set thy thunders to oppose my aim. Mars and Bellona fiery daggers draw. Yet I resolve, as men of valor should, to taste and eat this piece of pastry crust.
A desperate piece of service. I would make him a captain at least, if I meant to assault a cupboard or perceives an alms tub. Here, eat.
Sir, I have seen others than players this dead time, not very fat. 'Twas a Lent with us, and I believe an Ember Week with some of you, when you have kept your Fridays 2 or 3 days together. We have met sometimes, and fasted 4 in a mess at Hospital Humphreys. But here comes a lover.
Enter lover.
Ah, cruel Cupid, well I knew thy flames, happy I lived, Now I lament and water earth with my tears. The winds have heard my sighs, and mountains echoed with perpetual groans. The nightingale, listening to my good complaints, sings out of tune and bears a part with me. And canst thou be so cruel when I languish in flames of thy affection? Gentle death, lend me thy courteous hand. Oh, learn not thou scorn and disdain from him. Sir, in what desert or sir, in what desert or wildness were you brought up? What tiger, leopard, or lioness suckled you with blood, that you can be so savage to deny your poor despairing Thisbe half a crown to vamp her boots?
Breeds compunction in me. Alas, poor lady. Have you any more inhabitants of the no land of famine?
Yes, sir, and here they are, 2 roarers, brothers of the knife that have fallen out. Who shall eat the other's nose first? You know the meaning. The quarrel must be taken up, and let it be at your charge.
At my charge? Oh, I understand you.
I will unnose thy face, souse up thy cheeks, and cut thy body into flitch and gammon.
Yield me a chine, a sirloin, or a shoulder, and I will seize the rest in soot and smoke.
Then, sword, supply revenge.
Die then, and be in brawny collars, boiled boar as thou art.
Wilt thou yield up a leg?
For I must carve thee.
Not the least of pests.
A wing will serve.
No, if thou mean escape, resign a collop. If not so, to pot.
Sword cut, and send him to the dressing board.
What do you mean, gentlemen? Pray be not so earnest in these uncivil quarrels.
Sir, think not by persuasion to control my thirsty steel. It must have blood and drink.
Think not lean rhetoric can abate the edge of a hungry blade. I must have flesh and feed.
I know you both have good stomachs. Pray be reconciled. Walk down the stairs and chew the cud with my serving men.
Then sword to sleep in scabbard, knife awake.
Thou art by miracle preserved. All friends, say grace aforehand. Let least it breed delay.
I cannot, having said none, many a day.
This is well ended. So, and how have you lived? What chameleon shared commons with you? What speech have you gnawed on?
Faith, my guts are no great stores, a little serves me. And you seldom hear a pismire complain of a dearth of corn yet.
What's this? How has he lived?
He has lived by speaking the prologue to this play. He might have done penance too, had not that discharged his ordinary on a desperate day.
I shall hear that in the cockpit. Well, you shall sup with me. I'll send my boy to bespeak one dish.
An ox with a pudding in his belly, and perchance for a second course, a dozen of calves in a dish, and so I shall expect you.
And they
Insert
exit. Insert play there. And we can infer that the prologue's entered, and he's standing there just going, "Are you done yet?" Can we get on with the play? Are you done with your little bit of business? I'm just adding some entrance and exit cues for the roarers. Eric.
It feels a bit like sort of that episode from Blackadder with the actors, where I think it's like season 3 or something, where King George is trying to, has to make a speech, and they bring in some Victorian actors to teach him how to act. And of course, there's like the power stance and everything and all that stuff. It reminds me of that, basically, but funnier.
Yeah, yes, the Regency, the actors with their the roar coming from their hindermost. Absolutely. We just had a mention of Tamburlaine, and then the captain comes on and does his best Tamburlaine impression, basically, as far as I can tell. And then the lover just being and then we have these two people fighting, but it's fighting basically along the lines of I'm hungry. And they swap their swords for a knife to cut their meal with, and it's like, yeah, we're finally getting some food. Alan, and then Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, I think the director's note for this one has got to be never knowingly underacted.
Mm.
You know, OTT is not high enough. You know, you could see Brian Blessed having fun with this one.
Kyle.
I just love them saying grace on the way so that they don't waste time when they get there.
Yeah, I think this is a lot of fun, and finding the right context for it to be performed is really the only challenge, I think, actually. I mean, there are references there. You could throw in some modern references as alternatives, or things that an audience, or gloss it, you know, add a few extra, keep the original but add a few extras in so that people get what the joke is. But actually, it bounces along really quite nicely, and it's a fun little exercise. So I commend that to the house myself. Any additional thoughts about it overall that anyone's got for the Hungry Courtier induction? Eric?
I think it's I can't remember if it's the Spanish tragedy. No, it can't be the Spanish tragedy. It must be something else that is quite similar, where we have the characters of history, comedy, and tragedy basically like battling it out over the course of the play, which is kind of fun. Except this is more fun. It's like, oh, sort of comedy going, oh, look, I can make it worse, and it turns into a tragedy. And sort of, it's that kind of element, I guess. But this is funny. I'm enjoying it.
Now, we can't be certain that it is associated with the play The Woman Hater, but it is possible that it is connected to that. And when we get round to reading that, we will maybe throw this into the mix to see how well the two go together. But it's a revival of The Woman Hater, so maybe we'll wait till the second look to throw this in with it. But I think you can just do this. I see for example, our Revel seasons where we do a sort of pre-show warm-up of just random things. I think we could throw this in before any of the plays happily enough and just say, should we just do Dido instead? You know, should we do another play instead? Should we do this one? Yeah, and then you just move on, and I think that would work perfectly well. So good. Any other final thoughts before I close this session? Right, well, that's it for the Hungry Courtier. All that remains, thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.